Okay, we can start.
Okay. Welcome, everyone. This is our Facebook Live gathering, our opportunity to talk with each other, have some discussions. And our topic tonight is critical information for critical times. So, Kaisheri, we're very excited, and we're both very excited to be here with all of you tonight. And as always, what we do is we talk a little bit about some of the things that are important in this theme, and then we turn it over to you. Sherry will connect with you to see what you might have to share with us. Okay, so our theme tonight is critical information for critical times. And I'm guessing you're all wondering, what kind of a topic is this? Well, we know we're definitely in critical times. And so I'm sure that most of you have already so much information about this time. So what new can I bring, or what else can I bring? Well, I don't think I will be bringing anything new. However, maybe another perspective, a way to look at this. And so I want to kind of just talk a little bit about looking ahead. So we're looking ahead. And why do we want to look ahead of what we might be perceiving as going on now in our world and in ourselves, in our environment, with people around us? Yeah, what is it that we're going to look ahead to, or look ahead about? So I want us to kind of just consider looking ahead in terms of our own inner development, our personal inner development, because that's important for the critical times that we're in. And so some of the things I wanted to share, I will share about what I was thinking may be important for us to reflect on in terms of critical things that may be going on in our world. And then you can then fill in some of the things that might be important to you. So things I am sharing are things that some may be ahead of us, or some of them might be right now with us. So as we look ahead, yes, religion, truthfulness, cleanliness, tolerance, mercy, our lifespan, how long we live on the planet, our physical strength, and our memory will be diminishing day by day. So these things are definitely something we need to look ahead to, because these things will definitely become more and more a part of our environment if they're not already there. Something else to look ahead for is that wealth, money, or how people define wealth, will be considered a sign that is a good person. We will think of people as being good people based on the amount of money they have. That's something that we need to look ahead to, because there may be some of us that might not have so much money, wealth. So therefore, we might not be considered good people. Or people might not see us as being very relevant, very important. So that's something we may want to think about. Something else that we might want to look ahead to is that laws and justice will be applied only by the powerful. That means powerful people in the world will determine what are the laws and justice that people need to live by. And so we need to be prepared for that. So this, I think, is already happening. I'm sure this is going on quite a lot. Men and women will live together because of superficial attraction. That means they won't really think of marriage as being important anymore. And they won't have any depth. They won't really be thinking so much about inner development It will be all based on the body, all based on the physical attraction of each other. Businesses, people will be basing their businesses on cheating. This is already happening. So many of we can see in our world, and also in so many places all over the world. Business means cheating. Another one we want to look ahead at is people will suffer from all kinds of extreme, excessive weather conditions. And we're kind of looking at some of those things now. Excessive heat, excessive cold, excessive rain, excessive snow, excessive famine, excessive drought. Some of the predictions from the scientific arena in our world are telling us, which is very controversial in our world today, global warming, the melting of polar ice caps, earthquakes, volcanoes, things that we're already seeing. Some of these things are happening, and they will happen more. So we need to look ahead at some of those things. And am I painting a very dismal outlook for looking ahead? Well, in some ways, yeah. Yeah, because the way of our world will be changing significantly more and more as things like animal slaughter gets even more prominent. People become more aggressive in terms of killing animals. And abnormal diseases in our bodies. We're seeing that now so much. People are having so many different kinds of diseases, so many kind of illnesses that they're just people are making up names for these diseases. So based on some of these different things that are going to be, or they are already going on in the world and will be going on more, I wanted us to look ahead and think about our inner development. What does it mean that these things are happening and will be happening more? And how are we going to deal with these things? What will be our consciousness? Now, what is our consciousness now? And how are we preparing our consciousness in the future? So this is one area that we want to look ahead to. We want to understand more about our thoughts and how these thoughts impact our environment and how they impact us. And we want to remember that some of the thoughts that we have, I believe we talked about this in one of the workshops that I gave on one of our webinars. Some of the thoughts that we have are not ours. We're taking so many thoughts from our environment. So we're being fed so much information in our environment today. And some of those environment are creating some of the thoughts, and thoughts are alive. So those thoughts are living within us, and we're also subjecting so many other people to different thoughts that we may have. This is why inner development is really important. So this is the critical information that we want to talk about, is how to develop this inner awareness to accept these things that are going on and will be going on more, and at the same time, be equipoised and peaceful about it. So I'm going to open this up to you, and I'm going to ask you, what do you think about this conversation so far? What's happening for you?
It's actually scary also. And it's really a big question how to stay calm and peaceful and do not have negative thoughts. It's tricky. I'm really curious right now.
Okay. Anyone else on the call?
We have no comments so far.
Okay. Well, our thoughts are not our thoughts all the time. So we need to be very careful about what we're listening to, who we're listening to, and who are the people that we are connecting with, who are we associating with. especially in our work environment, especially with the media, especially so many different areas where we are actually taking on what other people are giving in different environments, different arenas. And so sometimes we bring that with us in our home environment. We bring that with our family. And sometimes our behaviors are such that we're acting out some of those things that we might have imbibed from being with different people or being in a different environment where the thoughts may not be conducive to developing a sacred inner environment. So what we're talking about today is to develop a spiritual environment. We need to all become more aware and more conscious about the importance of having more spiritual immunity, so to speak. We hear a lot about immunity of the body, and we hear a lot about people saying their immunity is very pure. Or we hear people saying they have to build their immunity because, they want to build their bodies so that their bodies won't be affected by illnesses. So yes, we also need to build our consciousness. We need to build our spiritual immunity so that we can deal with some of the things that are going to impact us in many different ways. Even if we don't want to, we may not want to be affected by some of these things. However, we won't be able to avoid it because this is the environment that has been created. And this is the environment we live in right now. So we need to start doing things that will build more of a spiritual environment within ourselves, starting with ourselves. We need to start doing more things that can help us. And so I'm going to turn this back over to you, and I want to hear from you. What do you think about that? That in order for us to kind of become a little more to become peaceful within ourselves and to be able to accept the things that are going on in the world, to accept that we are living in critical times. What kind of critical information can we do internally so that we can become more peaceful, more equipoise, more flowing with what's going to happen or what's happening already. And we don't take it and make it into anxieties and dramas and become distracted and become fearful, which is why we did one of the Facebook Live on fear, because we can understand that that's going to be very prominent for most people. People will become fearful. And as spiritual people have strong immunity. They do have strong immunity. So, however, they need to build it. So I was wondering if anyone has anything that they would like to share at this point.
Lucy actually wrote that I appreciate this topic. It's often hard to find a balance between being informed and not ignorant to what is going on around us and not being swallowed up by the instantly of the material world, insanity of the material world, especially when our empathy is strong and the suffering of the world is felt.
Yeah.
My thoughts also was like the best way is not to be informed of what's going on.
Well, that is definitely one choice, to not be informed. However, we're very interconnected with the world. And if we want to help others, then it is important to have some awareness. What is important is that our spiritual immunity can be so strong that we can hear about the things in the world. However, our immunity has built so much compassion within our inner self that we are not affected, because we are understanding that in our inner world, our inner world is made of compassion and care and love and things like that. So it's how to build that within ourselves. This is spiritual immunity, to become so powerful internally, spiritually, that no matter what is going on in the world, that we know we're always sheltered and protected. That's what's important for us. So, yeah, it can be very scary if we are not fixed and focused in knowing that we are sheltered and protected. It can become scary. And so I understand why some people won't want to know anything about the world, what's going on in the world. However, what's going on in the world will impact us for sure. So, if something happens in New York, if something happens in somewhere another part of the world, it affects the people in New York. Whatever happens in New York affects people in different places. So everything that's going on now affects everyone. So the spirit, the information, the critical information that is needed at this time is spiritual awareness to enable us to really be able to hear whatever we need to hear, whatever we hear, and not let it impact us in such a way that we get distracted by whatever might be going on in the world, right? And that requires definitely developing the spiritual immunity, definitely. So we want to talk more about how to do this. So our first point is look ahead. Okay, all these things are going to go on. They're going on now. They're going to go on more, and they will have more of an impact on many people. However, how can we stay focused, understanding that, okay, yeah, as the world turns, this is what's happening. So another point I want to bring to our attention in terms of critical times and critical information. So my second point of critical information is to get real. Get real. So how do we get real, right? So this is where our spiritual immune system, building our spiritual immune system, is really important. To get real, we need to get real with ourselves and get real with the world that we're living at this time. So one of the ways that we want to get real is to get this knowledge, get this information that we are stuck in a material body. So once we accept that, get real with that, we're stuck in a material body. And we're stuck in it for some time until we get out of it. We're going to be a part of whatever the madness is in the world. So given that we are stuck in this material body, it behooves us, if we don't take the time to learn about this material body that we're in, then for sure we will get distracted by what's ahead. For sure. Because we are living in an incompatible place. It's a problematic place, right? Starting with our bodies. We're living in that body. The body itself is problematic. The body itself is just not a place for us to be in. However, we're in it by our choice. So our existence on this planet right now, at this time in history, is our choice. So what are we going to do about it? So we're going to start by getting real with ourselves. I'm not this material body, right? First things first. I am not this material body. I am a spiritual being. So I'm going to look ahead at all the critical things that are going on in the world today. However, I'm going to have this realization that I am not a part of this material body. I am not this material body. Even though the body might be subjected to some of the things that's happening, we will understand that I am separate from this body, right? I am a spiritual person. So this is the beginning of having this critical information during these times. It's really important. And so how do we start practicing this, that I am not this body? How do we do this? What is the process that we're going to do to really get this realization, to really have this understanding? So I want to stop there, and then I'm going to give you my third point, my third strategy for how we're going to deal with these critical times with joy. Okay, so I want to open this up. Get real. What does that in terms of getting real? What does that mean to you? When I said get real, and I'm saying get real means get an understanding that we're not this body. So it might mean different things to you. Get real. What might it mean? I would like to know that. Sherry.
I'm thinking. I guess for me, it's to get real. It's to accept what you told about this world. Definitely. It's still hard to accept it's my choice to suffer.
Yeah.
It's really important to learn and start to practice it. I'm not this material body, but it's still hard. And do it with joy. It's even more harder.
Yeah. Yes. It's not easy. However, I think it's easier than well, I don't know. I mean, I get that it's not easy. Yes. And it's not easy for all of us. However, when I think of how difficult it is to face what's going on in the world and not have any way to deal with it, that seems even more difficult, right? Which is why we're seeing in our world today, so many people are just checking out. They're like committing suicide, they're getting mentally depressed, they just check out because they can't handle it. And that seems even more difficult to me than to start practicing spiritual principles or looking more deeper into a spiritual paradigm that could make us joyful. It seems like, when I think of what's the alternative to being a spiritual person, what's the alternative to that? What's the alternative to recognizing that I am a soul, that I'm not the body? What's the alternative to that? What's the alternative to learning about my soul as opposed to spending time with things that can happen to my body? For me, that seems like much more enlivening, much more exciting, much more joyful to think about and to learn about. And that's being real. Just get real with the fact that, yeah, like you said, we got to accept these things are going on. We might not like it. And the reality is, looking ahead, it's going to get more. It's not going to get better. It'll get more. It will get not so good, not so wonderful before it gets wonderful. It will get wonderful at a point. However, it's going to be not so wonderful before. So in that not so wonderful times, how are we going to cope? What are we going to do? How are we prepared? And this is what's important because it's already not so wonderful. So I guess the question to be asking ourselves is, how is my inner development going? How's that going on? How's that working? How's my spiritual immune system developing? How much am I still relating things to my body? And like you said, Kishore, it's not easy. However, this is like critical times. So we're being pushed as spiritual people to explore more about how to get deeper in our spiritual building of our spiritual immune system. Anyone has anything to share about that?
Yeah, Lucy shared that get real is to stop living from the place of illusion and ignorance. Sometimes I feel like I choose that.
Yeah, sometimes we do. However, a lot of times, as I was saying, things are we're living in an environment now where even though you can say it is our choice to take on other people's thoughts, it is our choice. At the same time, sometimes it's really difficult to see how we can not take on their thoughts. Because, for example, if we are working in an environment where most of the people are in ignorance and all they're talking about is all the craziness that's going on in our world, then of course we're going to get impacted by that. And of course it will bring up some fear, unless of course we have a strong spiritual immune system. If we have a strong spiritual immune system, then we won't become so affected by it. We'll be like, yeah, this has gone on historically, since time immemorial. It's a problematic world. It's not a healthy environment because we're in these bodies and we're not meant to be in them. We're not even supposed to be here. Somehow, because of our choice, we chose to be here. So we're in it. So, however, we need to take the time to imbibe the spiritual information, the spiritual knowledge. We need to take the time to look ahead at what's going on and realize unless we absorb in spiritual consciousness, unless we really develop spiritual consciousness, we will become a casualty in the midst of all this madness. Yes, absolutely. We will succumb to the mode of ignorance. Yeah. So we're not going to do that, right? That's not going to happen because we are endeavoring to become conscious. We're doing that. I'm just reminding us. I'm reminding myself. That's why I wanted to do this class, because I wanted to remind myself. So anyone has anything else to share at this point? I just have one more to share, and then we'll talk about that.
Yeah, we have no other comments so far, but like what I heard that was important for me, it's like it's much harder to live this life without having the spiritual awareness. Even sometimes it's hard to develop all the spiritual path, but it's much harder to live without it. It's this point really important for me. Thank you. And also that we need to be not just like interested in spiritual knowledge and just a little bit, but we need to be absorbed. I like this word in the spiritual consciousness. Otherwise, we will be in a madness.
Yeah, definitely. We'll get caught up. We'll get caught up. It's very difficult to not get caught up because it's all around, everywhere. You can't escape. It's not even like before. People would say, oh, I'm going to leave this place and I'm going to go to another country. It's everywhere. It's everywhere in the world today. So there is no escape. This is the way of the world. And this is because most people are not realizing that they're not the body. The fact is, most people are thinking they are the body. That's what they're thinking. That's why there's all this chaos and confusion, because everybody's thinking, well, most people in the world, I am the body. I am this body. And so if you just think that's all you are, then of course you're going to use it to just do all kinds of things, right? And so when someone is thinking outside of that box and realizing, no, I'm something else, then they won't spend so much time to do so much with that body, because they know, oh, that's not me. So they'll do, of course, whatever is needed and necessary. However, they won't spend so much time just using it to do all different kinds of things that might be very disruptive to the world. They won't do that because they realize, no, I'm something different than that. I'm not that. I'm not that body. And so that's what we want to imbibe within ourselves. That's strategy one. Look ahead, develop our own self internally, really be vigilant about it by getting real with our situation. Know that it's not going to get better. It will only get better inside of us. When we become spiritually strong, when we start building when we build our immune system, our spiritual immune system, then it's like, yeah, okay, this was happening 10,000 years ago. It's happening 5,000 years ago. It's happening again, whatever. It's going to happen again and again. This is the way of human beings because they think they're their bodies. Yeah. Okay. The third one is to set spiritual priorities. So this is the way that we are going to look ahead. This is the way we are going to get real. This is the way that we're going to give attention to our inner development by setting some spiritual priorities. And for different people, this might mean different things in terms of spiritual priorities. However, the point is to take action. Take some action. Do something. Do something. And do something means not that we're getting up having to, run around. Do something taking action might mean also just sitting and doing something like meditation, right? And there's different ways that people meditate today. So what's important is to get a spiritual practice. So for example, I do mantra meditation. And I find that mantra meditation really brings me the peace of mind that's important in my life. I find that mantra meditation helps me to just become grounded in knowing that I am fully sheltered and fully protected. Mantra meditation gives me the strength to know that whatever happens, it's okay because it's all related to my temporary body anyway. So it has nothing really to do with me. So like this, mantra meditation helps us to get this kind of focus. And I'm not saying I'm fully conscious of this. However, by doing mantra meditation and having done mantra meditation for the last 40 years, I am understanding that it does give that foundation, definitely gives that foundation, definitely strengthens our immune system. Now, there may be other ways that people may find that can help them to strengthen their immune system. Another way I suggest is to really hear from spiritual scriptures every day, every single day, even if it's to read one page, one paragraph. Read something that is not of this world we live in, because as you know, this world is chaotic. You want to hear about different place than this world. So this is why we listen to scriptures, so we can kind of know about other ways that people live and what is the other worlds and what do other people do and how do we develop some of this mood or to be in those kinds of environments that are not limited by the chaos that goes on in these material worlds. So we want to really kind of get that kind of understanding. We want to accept a spiritual mentor. That's so key in our looking ahead. When we get real, we know that we can't do it on our own. We have not developed ourselves enough spiritually to just become our immune system has become so strong that we can just not become affected. We cannot become fearful by all the things that's going on in the world or going on everywhere on the planet. So what we need is someone that have strengthened their immune system in such a way that they're not affected and they can guide us. We need to make sure we have that. A mentor that has stronger immune system than we do, that have taken the time to build their immune system. And the last thing I want to share is to be ready and prepared to help others. This is so key. And in order to do that, when we start strengthening our immune system, we will be ready to help others. Now, in order to do that, we will start seeing some kind of qualities developing inside of us. And some of these qualities that are going to be important for action in terms of the critical things in the world is we need to be ready to act with courage. We need to be ready to act with determination. We need to be ready to act with discipline, with mercy and compassion. If we put all of that together, that will build our immune system, and our immune system will become so strong that what's going to come out of it is a 4-letter word. That 4-letter word is love. That is really the purpose of building our immune system. So we can actually learn how to take action with this word love, so that we can bring this to others, because it's really not just about us. Although it starts with us, we got to be first looking ahead. We can't tell others about looking ahead if we're not doing it. We can't tell others to get real if we're not doing it. We can't tell others to get spiritual priorities if we're not doing it. So we need to do it. And we may not be that good at it. I'm not that good at it. However, I understand the importance of it. I do understand. And I know by sharing it with everyone, I know by sharing it, that I'm building my immune system by getting support from the people that I share it with, because that's what it's going to take. It's going to take support from others to build a spiritual immune system. It takes a lot of support. And so this is how we're going to address these critical times. If we simply just do these 3 things, they will help us to not become distracted, not become alarmed, not become fearful, not getting anxiety, not to become affected. Yeah, it will just really help us to develop love for ourselves and for others, and ultimately for God. And that's our purpose. That's our purpose. So this is our spiritual information tonight for critical times. So is there anyone that has anything to share?
Thank you very much. I just to recap what you told, that spirit stuff was to set spiritual priorities. It might mean mantra meditation, hear from spiritual scripts every day. And I like your emphasis that it should be really, really every day. That's why you still can join our Bhagavad Gita study where we learn Bhagavad Gita every day. And also we would like to get an expert, our spiritual mentor, and be ready and prepare to help others. And by sharing it with others, we also get in support from others. And it's very important to develop our qualities and to develop love. Thank you very much.
Yes. Thank you, Kishori. Everyone can become a mentor.
Lucy wrote, another essential tool is to have Vrajalila's association.
Well, I'm very grateful. Thank you very much. We need each other, though. I need you. I need all of you. And so I'm selfish. I am sharing some things that I have a little realization about, because I know how much I need all of you. So please, let's be the spiritual community that's going to change the world, because we can do this. We can do this. And yes, join our Bhagavad Gita. We have a beautiful Bhagavad Gita community, little study group. Listen to the discussion, nothing heavy, not heavy at all. Just really simple, very sweet. And so please join our communication. We will love that because we're wanting to have a community of people that are hearing spiritual knowledge so that they can build their spiritual immune system. Okay?
And Arjamil wrote, listening to you helps me build my immune system. So if you join our Bhagavad Gita study group, you will have this chance to listen to Vrajalila every day.
5 days a week. We do get off the weekend. I'm so grateful to Ajamil Prabhu because he's taught me how to set myself up technologically wise so that I can speak about spiritual immunity. So yeah, without that kind of support, it's really hard to do these things, right? So I'm so grateful to him. I'm grateful to Kasheri for helping me also to be present for all of you on this Facebook Live. I know nothing about none of these technologies, nothing. However, somehow God is kind, Krishna is kind, and allowing me to be useful in some way. So I'm grateful for that. Okay. So until next week, thank you so much. Let me love you. Please let me love you. Please let me learn to love you. Bye. See you next week.